I'm going to keep this relatively brief because it's very simple. It's SummerSlam 2014. It is Brock Lesnar murder shagging John Cena. Legitimately one of my favourite WWE matches of all time, even though if you want to judge it by some kind of weird objective standard, it probably isn't one of the best matches of all time, but I enjoyed my little face-off when this happened. I was one of those little fannies who was like, yeah, I hate John Cena. John Cena's Superman. John Cena. One of those types that we like to throw vile at every now and then. And seeing him just get completely destroyed, 16 German suplexes, barely a sliver of offense. I think it was 2 F5s, 16 minutes or thereabouts of pure decimation. It's just this brutal, beautiful display of complete domination from this big, mad Viking guy from the woods against this little neon nerd with his bloody t-shirt and his little never give up towel, getting eaten alive. It's beautiful. I just want to watch it again now, to be perfectly honest.
Shawn Michaels bumping for Hulk Hogan in a way reminiscent of like a frozen fish that's been thrown into a ball pit, or like a dude who's like made both his arms go numb and his dad's walked in and caught him masturbating. It was absolutely dreadful to watch at the time because you were like, what is this? I'm not buying this as a legitimate fight. And it's kind of gone down in history as the most ego-driven pantomime possibly in both men's careers, because there was all this stuff beforehand. They were billing it as icon versus icon. They thought they had another Rock Hogan style match on their hands. Their biggest star from the 80s versus their biggest star from the 90s, sort of. And it was going to be this huge clash. It was going to be brilliant. But both of them were like, yeah, great, sounds good. Can't wait for the program. But I'm winning, though. Aren't I? And of course, in that situation, you have to let one of them down. It turned out they're going to let down Shawn Michaels. So he was like, oh, you want me to sell for Hogan, do you? Well, I'll sell all the bumps in the world. For all it's ridiculous, it tells this further, deeper story about how neither men really wanted to put the other over, and despite it being such a logical feud for them both to do, and great work leading up to it, like HBK hardly ever did any proper heel stuff after he returned, and this was genuinely one of the few times he pulled it off. It's great, and this stupid like format of the selling kind of adds to it in a way. So it's almost meta now, watching it back. Like it's almost a match within a match. It's almost the clash of their egos taking place beneath or above the clash in the actual ring. And it's just, it tells you a lot about wrestling and a lot about both men and a lot about, I think, why we actually get invested in these things in the first place. Because they are stupid. They are, all of them are stupid. All wrestling matches are stupid. Just this one knew it was stupid. And as a result, I really like it.
Well, mine's got to be that moment where Taker got retribution and just threw JBL through a limousine.
Yes!
Because after we'd suffered him winning like against Eddie Guerrero, yes, I know I've said before that I liked him being champion, but at that point, you just really wanted to see JBL lose his title because it's just one of the worst heels you just hated. Like there was nothing about him you wanted to watch. So finally, we got the dead man Taker. He's returned. He's full like zombified again. There's no way he's going to lose, right? He fights off Orlando Jordan throughout the match, you know, stopping the DQs and things. Goes for a punch of the title because referee's on the floor. Gets caught out. JBL gets the DQ victory. And everyone's just like, what are you doing? How can you do this? Just to DQ the Undertaker at SummerSlam against JBL. So you know what? Screw it. Just smash him into the limo and just throw him through the roof. And just watch him cry the next few weeks. And wear that really stupid, weird head brace thing. That was probably one of the best parts of his character, wearing a hat on like this neck brace because he apparently broken his neck because he went through a limo. So yeah, watching the wrestling god go through that limousine roof, probably the best part of SummerSlam ever.
SummerSlam is so good it made you hate JBL.
Yeah, for that brief time.
Actually didn't happen at the ring. It's the advert for 2003's SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar, F5 in a shark. I don't know how you say more than that. It's better than anything that's happened in the ring, ever.
Biggest party of the summer?
Yeah, look at how he dives in the water. Look at him go, sploosh. Happy days. Look at him. God, brilliant.
I think Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle from 2002 is the best match you're ever going to see under 10 minutes. However, my favourite SummerSlam moment, Adam Wilborn, was in 2012 when Triple H, after a very boring, silent match of the kind that he wrestles all the goddamn time, tried to convey to the audience that I'm going to retire, I'm going to retire, and in unison, an entire arena went, Don't believe you, but would it be the worst thing in the world? I'm not convinced. In stark contrast to the comment section of my articles, I was validated by an entire room full of people because in my opinion, Triple H is the most tedious, overexposed, and just plain boring mainstream performer that I grew up with. And it was just so nice to see everyone, and I'm not like embellishing this at all, literally everyone in that arena and myself watching at home with a tear in my eye just did the Alan Partridge gif and went. So yeah, absolutely, totally magical. Triple H is boring, lol.
The British Bulldog's gonna win, whether he wants to or not.
I happen to have a little bet on SummerSlam 2017. If you cast your minds back, there was a lot of matches on the card and me and a friend decided to put some money on it, and we put on two different kinds of bets. We put on one bet where it was going to be the best case scenarios, things we really thought we wanted to see happen, and then there was another bet where we thought we'll just put on the potential worst case scenarios that we don't want to see but are probably going to happen because WWE. And sure enough, the three matches in the bet for £10 stake was John Cena versus Baron Corbin, it was Randy Orton versus Rusev, and it was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal. And we had all of the favourites, of course, to win in the terrible circumstances, including Jinder Mahal. So I can't remember which way the first two went. I think it was Cena Corbin first, and obviously we all got Party John Cena came on for that match. So he put Corbin to bed, and then Randy Orton put Rusev to bed in like 5 seconds or something with this wicked RKO. So at this point, 2 down, 1 to go. Now let me set the scene for you. I was sat in my mate's house. It's stupid o'clock in the morning. He just had, I think his kid must have been like very young at this point, but was asleep upstairs. So we weren't really allowed to make any noise, of course. And like, as the results were coming in, we were like miming happiness, like shouting up and down, but obviously couldn't do make any noise. Of course, we all know what happened. Jinder Mahal defeated Nakamura with the Kalash and the little distraction. And I've never had such a weird experience of being like, he pinned him to 3, and me and my mate jumped out of chairs and were like miming, like going crazy because we just won £333 off this bet, which was absolutely crazy. Each, I should point out, wasn't between, it was each, because we made the same bet. And like, I'm going mad, I'm like, yeah, we're looking at each other, I'm like whisper shouting across the room to him. It's all going a bit mad. And then when all the dust settles, you start to like sit back down in the chair and just see Nakamura lying on the floor and Jinder Mahal walking away with the title, and you're thinking like, what just happened there? Like, that's it, it's all over. Like, Nakamura's, it was probably the beginning of a very bad run for Nakamura. But yeah, sod him, because 333 quid, and I like me better than I like Shinsuke Nakamura.
My favourite SummerSlam moment is all of SummerSlam 2011 because I was there live in LA.
Wow!
It was my first ever major like WWE like pay-per-view live experience. I'd only ever been to some like little SmackDown shows in England before that. And I mean, let's face it, the less spoken about the undercard, probably the better. But at the end of the day,
Who was on the undercard?
Rey Mysterio was in some rubbish 6-man tag. There was Eve Torres.
Alex Riley.
Alex Riley versus Dolph Ziggler was on it. Kelly with Eve Torres versus someone with Natalia. I can't remember.
Good.
It was good stuff. Yeah, ignoring all of that. I got to see there was a really good match between Christian and Randy Orton where they just basically kicked the ever-living crap out of each other in a street fight. Edge came out to run down Christian before, and I'd never seen him live before, so that was like amazing being there for his big sort of return pop because that was the year that he'd retired. And then the main event was obviously Cena versus Punk. Kind of killed the summer of Punk, I guess, because Punk lost the match, and then Kevin Nash came out and beat down Punk, and then there was Alberto Del Rio's cash-in, which was an amazing moment on top of that anyway. But just as a whole live experience, never been to a show of that size or that like importance before. For that, it'll always stick in my memory as the best SummerSlam ever.
My best SummerSlam moment comes from 1993 when wrestling was better. And Bret the Hitman Hart took on Jerry the King Lawler, and he couldn't straight away, he had to take on Doink. Jerry the King Lawler faked an injury, he sent his court jester out to get Bret Hart. Bret gave Doink the best match of his life because he gives everybody the best match of his life. Jerry Lawler revealed an injury, smashed him with a crutch. Bret finally got his revenge, held him in the sharpshooter, held him in it so long, in fact, that the result was reversed and Bret Hart lost, but he just hated Jerry Lawler that much. None of that's my best moment. No. My best moment is when Doink comes out to the ring, because stood ringside for Bret is brother Owen before he turned heel and became the King of Hearts, and brother Bruce, the man that was going to get Owen's spot before possibly this moment occurred. So Owen and Bruce are there in a supportive role, giving it the big applause for Bret. Doink comes out, Bret's livid, the Hearts are fuming that Lawler has pulled off this horrible trick of having Doink come out to take his place. Doink's got a couple of buckets because he's a nasty clown. Gets his first bucket full of confetti, throws it into the crowd. The crowd, oh, I thought you were going to splash me. So he goes over with his second bucket of confetti, goes to throw it at the Hearts, directs it at Bruce's face, and it's full of water. Bruce Hart gets absolutely soaked. Turns out they didn't tell him that there was going to be water in that bucket, and Owen Hart set it up as this cracking rib. So Bruce gets absolutely soaked, tries to hop the barricade. At this point, Doink is getting pulled away by Bret. They're actually trying to stop Bruce swinging for him for real. What you see is Bret battling with Doink on the floor, and then Bruce having to be pulled back by Owen and other security because he's livid about getting absolutely soaked. Just Bruce Hart getting bantered off. But Bret versus Doink and Jerry Lawler is absolutely worth your time.
Now, I was going to go for the custody of Dominic match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio purely for the "where the is Vicky" line, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with the Universal Championship match at SummerSlam 2016 between Finn Balor, of course, as the Demon, and Seth Rollins. Just because it felt so important at the time. It felt like a sort of changing of the guard, a changing of the way we perceive WWE handling superstars, and especially the way we perceive them being brought up through NXT. Finn Balor had been brought up just a few weeks before. He'd won that sort of gauntlet thing that they had going, or the Fatal 4-Way, I think it was, defeating Roman Reigns at the end of it all, which was arguably the biggest shock of all. He was set up to face Seth Rollins, and we all thought, they'll go with a good old reliable Seth Rollins. But no, that wasn't to happen. He hit the coup de grace. He hit 1, 2, 3. And he was the new the first ever of that disgusting belt, the first ever Universal Champion. It felt such memorable, life-changing moment for all involved, both him and the fans and the way we perceive WWE. And then the next night he had to give the belt because he'd been injured. But at the time, it was my favourite SummerSlam moment.
My favourite SummerSlam moment, they kind of smashed together a little bit. My first one would be SummerSlam 1997, specifically the main event, which was just, I don't know, I guess given my age, and I absolutely love Bret Hart, and I was desperate for him to win, even though at that point he was basically a heel in the United States of America and everybody hated him. He was facing the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, the special guest referee, and the championship was on the line. There was just so much going on. The finish especially was awesome, because as a stupid kid, I was like, how is the Hitman gonna be able to beat the Undertaker? I had no clue how they were going to do it. So then you had the spit from Shawn Michaels and the chair shot and all these cool kind of stuff. Other way around, sorry, Bret Hart spat at Shawn Michaels. And it's just one of those moments that every time I think about SummerSlam, I remember, was it called Heart and Soul, I think, that was the tagline. And it was just so perfectly booked. And we know what happened from there with Bret Hart, and it was only Montreal a few months later. But yeah, ultimately just fantastic. And then again, when you spool forward a year later, you got The Undertaker in the main event again, but now it's the Highway to Hell, and we're going against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because lots of people said that was a crap match, and the reason they say that is I think that Steve Austin got knocked out, I think he got smashed in the jaw, and he got concussed or something like that. But to me, again, as this moronic child, I was so into Stone Cold Steve Austin. I loved him desperately. I feigned sickness to stay off to watch that main event earlier because I was so worried about it being spoiled. And when Steve Austin won, because again, I didn't know, how do you topple The Undertaker? He's unstoppable. And when he hit that stunner and won, I jumped around my living room, to the point my mother came in the room and she went, "You're not sick, you lying little toe rag." And she was right, she was right to be mad. So those two things kind of bounce off each other, because it showed my evolution as a fan too. I was into Bret Hart a year earlier, he went to WCW, I did watch WCW, but I wasn't loyal to them, I was loyal to WWE. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes in, goes on a tear, and then before all is said and done, I'm almost in the same position 12 months later, just desperate for the Rattlesnake to win, and he did. And maybe that's one of the reasons I love SummerSlam so much, because it reminds me of the good old days. Because I'm an old man, and back then I was just a kid, and everything was up, and everything is down. That was an Ups and Downs reference by accident. SummerSlam.
Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and if you're a fan of what you've just seen, then make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, we also discuss the events before and after of pay-per-views. We have roundtable discussions discussing burning wrestling issues, interviews, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.